The Nightly Business Report.
Good evening. Tonight, Sri Lanka's banking sector assets grow 15% in Q2 of 2025 as profits surged 68% amid strong lending and investment gains. Colombo port container volumes rise 5.7% year-on-year in the first 8 months of 2025. ASPI posts modest gains while S&P SL20 records slight decline amid mixed investor sentiment. And S&P 500 and Nasdaq hit record high closing as investor optimism grows.
From Studio 24C, here's Jenna Newman.
Good evening and welcome to the Nightly Business Report. Sri Lanka's banking sector assets grew nearly 15% year-on-year to 23.8 trillion in Q2 of 2025, driven by higher investments, loans and deposits. Profit after tax surged 68% to 187.8 billion rupees, reflecting improved net interest income and stronger financial performance.
Sri Lanka's banking sector assets grew 14.9% year-on-year to 23.8 trillion rupees in the second quarter of 2025, driven by increased investments, loans and advances. Gross loans and receivables rose 11.4% to 12.3 trillion rupees, while investments jumped 26.2% to 9.9 trillion rupees. Total liabilities increased 14.4% to 21.6 trillion rupees, with deposits growing 12.9% to 19.2 trillion rupees. Profit after tax surged 68% to 187.8 billion rupees, mainly due to a 26.8% increase in net interest income. Speaking on Get Real with Mahesh Johnny, the Minister of Labour and Deputy Minister of Economic Development, Dr. Anil Jayantha Fernando, stated that the government intends to discontinue the IMF program beyond 2027 as the nation's economic trajectory is positive. Meanwhile, the minister also spoke about debt servicing to begin from 2028 onwards.
That is extended fund facility program.
Exactly.
That really went beyond the balance of payment issues. That is mainly due to the country was just made bankrupt and collapsed situation. Just to take the country out of that particular abyss was one, the strategy was this particular program. So therefore, we do not have any intention of continuing that particular program. So that is working with a given medium-term framework. If we continue that particular program, that means that still the country is in the bankrupt situation and struggling. Already.
Are we struggling?
No, that is why. So we are not struggling because now, so we have stabilized the economy. So that was the biggest task, the challenge that we faced. We did it, and the stabilization is reflected in many economic indicators, and these indicators are more than what we expected and planned. So that is accepted by everyone, business community, even political economy, if you are genuine enough, accept. And not only, and international agencies, investors, and even the Bloomberg recently just announced that our plan was to prepare the country ready to repay your international debt by 2028. Now they say that by 2026, we would really review the situation and come back. So it means that so country is on the right path, stabilized, so the economic trajectory can be directed towards that particular objective. So therefore, we need not to be constrained within such a framework. So that is why Excellency the President announced that this would be the last such kind of program. Yeah, target date is actually we have to repay the external debt starting from 2028. So everything is just on the plan, like to facilitate this thing. So we are building required reserves, and by the IMF also has certain projections. So as of now, we are on target.
The United Nations Human Rights Council adopted a resolution extending the mandate of the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights in Sri Lanka for more 2 years. Co-sponsored by 22 countries, the resolution urges Sri Lanka to strengthen reconciliation, accountability and human rights protection. It calls for genuine political devolution, timely provincial elections and independent investigation into alleged human rights violations. This resolution emphasized prosecuting perpetrators and safeguarding civil society actors from intimidation and reprisals. It also urges a release of lands under military control and calls for the repeal of the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Additionally, the UNHCR expressed concerns over the Online Safety Act and encouraged amendments to protect freedom of expression. Container volumes at Colombo port increased 5.7% year-on-year to 5.43 million TEUs in the first 8 months of 2025, driven by growth in both transshipment and domestic handling.
Container volumes at the port of Colombo rose 5.7% year-on-year to 5.43 million TEUs in January to August of this year compared to 5.14 million TEUs last year. Transshipment volumes increased 3.8% to 4.35 million TEUs, while domestic container handling grew 13.7% to 858,324 TEUs. In August alone, total output surged 16.8% to 741,124 TEUs, driven by a 16% rise in transshipment volumes and a 3.2% increase in domestic volumes. The growth highlights the port's expanding role in regional trade and logistics. Additionally, total cargo tonnage handled by Sri Lankan ports increased 2.1% year-on-year to 82.4 million metric tons. These figures reflect positive momentum in the country's maritime trade sector.
Sri Lanka should liberalize land-labor trade to boost growth, the World Bank said as the country recovers from currency crisis and high poverty. The economy is projected to grow 4.6% in the year 2025 and may slow to 3.5% in the year 2026. The report urges better public spending, focusing on completing infrastructure projects and maintaining assets efficiently. Labor market reforms are needed to simplify outdated laws and increase private investment, especially boosting female workforce participation. Land reform is also crucial as unclear land ownership hinders investors and farmers. Additionally, public sector wage reforms are recommended to address inefficiencies and reduce inflationary pressure linked to past HOC salary hikes. A short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Sri Lanka's stock market saw mixed movement today, with the ASPI posting modest gains while the S&P SL20 edged slightly lower. Investor sentiment remained cautious amid broader market consolidation. For further insights on this, we have Dilhari Dias from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Jenna. Continuing the bullish leap of the previous week, the Colombo Stock Exchange demonstrated an upward momentum driven by rising investor optimism. Banking sector counters, coupled with blue-chip companies, exerted a positive pressure on the all-share price index, which closed at 22,163 after registering a gain of around 68 points. The top positive contributors for the day were Lion Brewery Ceylon, Aiken Spence plc, Melstar Corporation, Ceylon Beverage Holdings plc, and Sampath Bank plc. Both retail and high net worth participation remained elevated during the day. Turnover for the day stood at 8 billion rupees, reflecting an increase of 16% compared to the monthly average that stands at around 6.9 billion rupees. Banking sector took the lead in terms of sector-wise contribution to the turnover with a share of 24%, followed by the capital goods sector and the diversified financial sector, which together accounted for around 27% of the turnover. The top three price gainers for the day were Lion Brewery Ceylon plc, CM Holdings plc, and Sarvodaya Development Finance plc, whereas the top three price losers were Kottagala Plantations Right Shares, Haris Chandra Mills plc, and Diesel and Motor Engineering plc. Thank you.
Sri Lanka's external sector continues to show mixed trends with modest export growth, resilient remittances and improved tourism earnings supporting foreign exchange inflows. However, external debt challenges and global market volatility may remain key risks to sustained recovery. For further insights on this, we have Ranjan Ranatunga from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Jenna. Sri Lanka's external sector continued resilient performance in the month of August, with the current account posting a surplus of $368 million, up by 7% year-over-year. The improvement came despite the widening trade deficit, which recorded at $414 million, slightly lower than the August 2024 numbers. Merchandise exports rose by 4.1% year-over-year to $1.28 billion, supported by the growth in industrial products, while the import segment recorded a slower growth of 2.6%, reaching $1.7 billion. For the first 8 months of 2025, exports stood at $9.1 billion, while imports increased to $13.3 billion, driving the cumulative trade deficit to $4.3 billion. On the services front, tourist arrivals climbed by 20% to 198,235 arrivals, while the tourism earnings dipped to $259 million compared to last year. Nevertheless, cumulative tourism earnings for the first 8 months reached $2.3 billion from $2.1 billion recorded in the previous year. Meanwhile, on the worker remittances front, worker remittances surged by 18% year-over-year in August to $681 million, with cumulative earnings growing up by 19% year-to-date. Financial flows were mixed, with the government securities market recording a net inflow, while the Colombo Stock Exchange recorded a net outflow for the month of August. Gross official reserves increased to $6.2 billion, covering 3.7 months of imports, while the Sri Lankan currency depreciated by 3.3% year-to-date against the dollar, settling at $302.61 for the end of September. Thank you.
Gold prices rose in Asian trade today, remaining close to record highs near $4,000 an ounce as haven demand was underpinned by growing political uncertainty in the US, Japan and France. Spot gold rose 0.4% to $3,974.50 an ounce after hitting a peak of $3,977.45 an ounce earlier in the session. Gold futures for December rose 0.6% to $3,998.12 an ounce after hitting a peak. Other precious metals also advanced after clocking decade highs in recent sessions. Spot platinum rose 0.5% to $1,632.51 an ounce, while spot silver rose 1% to $48.05 an ounce. Among industrial metals, benchmark copper futures on the London Metal Exchange rose 0.7% to $10,000.72 a ton, while COMEX copper futures rose 0.8% to $5.82 a pound. Oil prices held steady in Asian trade today after gaining sharply in the previous session as investors weighed the impact of a smaller than expected OPEC Plus output hike next month. Brent on futures expiring September gained 0.2% to $65.60 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude futures also edged at 0.2% to $61.80 per barrel. Both benchmarks jumped over 1% yesterday, rebounding after a sharp weekly loss. The OPEC Plus alliance, which includes Russia, said it will increase output by about 137,000 barrels per day, maintaining the cautious pace adopted in October. Oil also drew support from renewed geopolitical tension after Ukraine stepped up attacks on Russian energy infrastructure. The Sri Lankan rupee remains steady against the US dollar at commercial banks in Sri Lanka today than compared to Friday. The buying rate of the US dollar remains unchanged at 299 rupees and 25 cents, while the selling rate is also unchanged at 304 rupees to 75 cents. Let's take a closer look on how the Sri Lankan rupee has performed against other major global currencies. Short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Fitz Air, Sri Lanka's first privately owned international airline, celebrates 3 years of passenger operations marked by network expansion and operational milestones. The airline plans further growth while offering special anniversary fares to key regional destinations.
Fitz Air, Sri Lanka's first privately owned international airline, recently celebrated 3 years of scheduled international passenger operations. Over the past year, the airline expanded its network by adding Kuala Lumpur as a new destination and increasing flights to Male and Dhaka. It also received approval to handle its own ground operations at Bandaranaike International Airport. Fitz Air Director Ammar Kasim highlighted the airline's resilience and vision as it enters a new phase of growth. To mark the anniversary, Fitz Air launched a limited-time promotion with special fares and generous baggage allowances. The airline remains committed to expanding its network, improving customer experience, and making regional travel more affordable.
Oxford College of Business has been named Sri Lanka's best workplace for the 12th consecutive year by Great Place to Work Sri Lanka. The institution also secured the first position in micro category for 2025 and ranked 24th in Asia in the SME category, the highest for Sri Lanka's company this year. OCB received the Industry Excellence Award for Workplace Culture in Professional Services sector, further reinforcing its commitment to employee well-being and organizational excellence. The college's People First culture is built on continuous learning, work-life balance, inclusivity, and community engagement. Leadership at OCB credits a recognition to their dedicated employees and a strong culture of trust, innovation, and care. Horizon College International Malabay, in collaboration with the Interfaith Society, will donate 2 chemotherapy machines to Apeksha Cancer Hospital on the 3rd of October 2025.
Horizon College International Malabay, in collaboration with its Interfaith Society, is organizing a donation event for Apeksha Cancer Hospital, Maharagama. The event took place on the 3rd of October at the hospital premises. As part of this initiative, the school donated 2 chemotherapy machines worth 462,000 rupees to support cancer treatment efforts. The event aims to highlight the importance of community service among students. The school has invited media coverage to raise awareness and inspire wider student engagement in philanthropic activities. Horizon College believes such efforts can create a positive impact on society and instill a spirit of giving among a younger generation.
H&B PLC has entered a strategic partnership with TVS Lanka Private Limited to promote Sonalika tractors, expanding the bank's agricultural leasing portfolio. The collaboration offers customers attractive leasing packages and exclusive benefits for purchasing Sonalika tractors through H&B. Senior Vice President of H&B emphasized the importance of rural development and making modern farm equipment accessible and affordable. TVS Lanka CEO Geethal Anthony highlighted the tractor's durability and fuel efficiency, stressing the partnership's role in supporting farmers with convenient financing. This initiative aims to boost agricultural mechanization and strengthen rural financing opportunities across Sri Lanka. This partnership aligns with broader national goals to modernize agriculture and promote inclusive economic growth. The inaugural First Capital Startup Nation by Hatch event was successfully held on the 1st of October 2025, bringing together top entrepreneurs, investors, and industry leaders.
The inaugural First Capital Startup Nation by Hatch event took place on the 1st of October, gathering leading entrepreneurs, investors, and industry experts. The highlights of the event was a final pitch competition that showcased innovative startups. Torch Labs emerged as the ultimate winner for its groundbreaking innovation. Seashore Gardens secured the first runner-up position, with DocuPath IT Consultancies finished as the second runner-up. The event was supported by a wide range of sponsors and partners, including First Capital, Orion City, ICTA, and the Lanka Angel Network. This collaboration helped create a vibrant platform to nurture Sri Lanka's startup ecosystem and foster innovation.
Let's take a short commercial break. Global business updates coming from the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Asian stocks advanced today as technology stocks tackle gains in the US peers on persistent optimism over artificial intelligence. The Nikkei 225 index rose as much as 1% to a record high of 48,544.0 points, while Topix hit a peak of 3,248.39 points. Both indexes traded below their highs. Among broader Asian markets, Singapore's STI index surged 0.9%, while Australia's ASX 200 fell 0.3%. Elsewhere, India's Nifty 50 index rose 0.4% in morning trade after rising past 25,000 points in the recent sessions. Focus is now squarely on upcoming third quarter earnings season, which is set to begin in earnest this week. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq advanced, and artificial intelligence-related deal-making boosted investor sentiment even as the U.S. government shutdown extended through the sixth day.
Wall Street ended mostly higher on Monday, with the S&P 500 gaining about 0.33% and the Nasdaq rising about 0.7, while the blue-chip Dow fell marginally. The record closing highs for the S&P and Nasdaq come despite the U.S. government shutdown extending through its sixth day. Chip stocks took the lead after AMD said it would supply AI chips to OpenAI in a deal that could generate tens of billions of dollars in yearly revenue and would allow the ChatGPT creator to buy a stake of up to 10% in the chipmaker. Shares of AMD surged nearly 24% after announcing the partnership. Other stocks on the move included Tesla, which climbed nearly 5.5%. as the electric car maker teased an event scheduled for Tuesday on social media platform X over the weekend. And shares of Starbucks fell 5% after TD Cowen cut its price target on the stock, citing a weakening labor market affecting Generation Z.
AMD has signed a multi-year deal to supply hundreds of thousands of AI chips to OpenAI. The deal offers OpenAI an opportunity to take a stake in one of NVIDIA's most formidable rivals.
AMD said on Monday it will supply artificial intelligence chips to OpenAI in a multi-year deal. It would bring in tens of billions of dollars in annual revenue and give the ChatGPT creator the option to buy up to roughly 10% of the chip maker. The deal offers OpenAI an opportunity to take a stake in one of NVIDIA's most formidable rivals and is a powerful endorsement of Advanced Micro Devices' AI chips and software. Shares of AMD jumped more than 33% in pre-market trading. It put them on track to open at their highest level since March 2024 if gains hold. The agreement covers the deployment of hundreds of thousands of AMD's AI chips, or graphic processing units, over several years, and will begin in the second half of 2026. AMD said OpenAI would build a 1 gigawatt facility based on its forthcoming M1450 series of chips beginning next year. Because of the agreement's ripple effect, AMD said it expects to receive more than $100 billion in new revenue over 4 years from OpenAI and other customers.
That wraps up today's Nightly Business Report. We value your opinion. Share your thoughts and feedback with us through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. We will see you again tomorrow with the latest updates in the business globe. Vinod Varnasurya will join you next with other Derana Sports Central. Until then, I'm Jenna Newman. Thank you for watching and have a good night.